Jobs are no longer safe and we need to do something about it. So I'm going to be walking you through some options. I'm going to be talking about a few objections that people had to those short form videos as well, and basically giving you my thoughts. Jobs are at risk and you need to do something about it and you need to take some responsibility for it. I know this is going to upset some people because we're very used to just turning up, getting paid, going home and living our lives. That is going to become harder and harder to do. So previously, starting a business, running your own thing, securing your own income was a choice. It was something that you could do, but it was a very high risk option. The safest thing to do was to go and get a job, work in the 9 to 5, collect your paycheck, get a pension, and basically retire at, God, what is it now? Enjoy the rest of whatever was left of your life. That is increasingly a dream, something that people can't achieve. Even getting that first job is becoming very, very difficult. I'm going to look at some statistics about youth unemployment in particular, and from The Guardian, an article about Gen Z and Gen Z turning to entrepreneurship, turning to setting up businesses instead of relying on other companies. So this choice is being made for you right now. Previously, now it's no longer as risky as it used to be. So let's have a look. It is not a good plan anymore to rely on your job or your employer or your industry. There are many, many different attack vectors that artificial intelligence is going to have on what it is that you do in your 9 to 5. You might be sitting there thinking, well, my job is safe. What I do inside of my job cannot be done by an artificial intelligence. That's maybe true. I don't know what you do for your work, but there will be some tasks within your job that are not protected. Admin, operations, customer service, talking to stakeholders, applying to things, going to meetings, etc. These are the kind of things that can be increasingly automated by artificial intelligence, which is good in the sense that it allows you to free up more time for the unique parts of your job, but also bad because it means there are less people needed for your role. So even if your job as a whole is okay, that does not mean that all of the tasks within your job are okay, which means that less people are going to be needed inside of the economy at large to do that particular job. And there's going to be a compression in that job. Might be fine for you as an individual, maybe, we'll see, but we're not going to rely on that. Because the other thing that can happen, and I see this a lot, I had some comments on my videos the other day saying, oh, my job's actually safe because my company is so far behind and they're not paying any attention to artificial intelligence, so I'm never going to lose my job. No, that's just shifting the responsibility up one level. The problem with that is if your company is not embracing these technologies, then they're likely to be outcompeted. A company that has either entered the market and is attacking the incumbents, or a current competitor who has embraced artificial intelligence is going to blow your employer out of the water. Because if your employer is saying, no, we're not touching AI, they're going to be at a disadvantage moving forward. They're not going to be as lean. They're not going to be able to save money by using artificial intelligence. They're not going to be able to accelerate revenue, and potentially 5 years down the line, that company may not exist. And then the third layer of this is you might be looking at all of the companies in your industry. You might be saying, oh, I work in the legal industry and none of the companies, none of the competitors are touching AI because it's too risky and it can't do what it is that we need to do. That is, again, shifting the blame up one level and saying that, oh, my industry is safe because my industry is not going to touch AI. This is things like trucking, for example, logistics and trucking. Lots of unionized. This is not anti-union. This is just talking about the structure of this. Lots of unionized jobs will be pushing back on artificial intelligence because it is a risk to jobs. The problem there is that other industries may come in. So trucking, for example, yes, they might push back on logistics, AI being used in the trucking industry, but that does not stop AI-based self-driving cars from disrupting that entire industry of people. So you need to think more than just your job. You need to think about more than just what you do on a day-to-day basis. You need to think about your job as a bundle of tasks, which part of those can be automated by AI, and there will be some. And if that's the case, less people are needed for your particular role. And you might be one of the people who gets the cut, or you won't be able to progress as much, or your income will stagnate because less people are required. Second, your employer, your company, if they do not embrace AI, they may not be around in 5 to 10 years. Or finally, if your industry as a whole does not touch AI, then a new, more disruptive version of that industry may come in and undercut your whole industry. It may not exist. Think about something like travel agents when the internet arrived. Travel agents used to be on every single high street. The internet came along, decimated that industry. Do travel agents exist? Yes, but they're very, very niche now. So the industry as a whole got absolutely demolished. You don't want to be in an industry like that facing artificial intelligence. Don't stick your head in the sand and hope for the best, because that is risky. What you need to be doing right now is taking some responsibility. Not hoping that your job's going to be okay, not hoping that your company's going to be okay, and not hoping that your industry is going to be okay, but taking some responsibility and building some protection for yourself, your family, and your community. So we're going to do that by starting a business. And I know you're going to be thinking, oh, I'm not a business person, I'm not an entrepreneur. We're going to talk about that in a moment. But I want to impress upon you that this is happening quite fast. I just read this article and I put it in the newsletter. If you are not subscribed to the newsletter, it is at aiwithkyle.com. It's totally free. Just come over to this page, join the community, and you'll be able to get access to the newsletter. It will include the edited version of this video, everything tidied up, as well as written versions, resource packs, etc., etc. All totally free. So that's at aiwithkyle.com. This is what it looks like. Okay, but let's hop back. So the ground is shifting. This is coming from this Guardian article, which came out a few days ago, but we're seeing this data across the board. Youth unemployment in particular is skyrocketing. In London, I think it was near to 25% youth unemployment, which is really scary. And you hear these horror stories of these young kids who are going out there and they're applying to 100, 200 jobs, getting absolutely nothing. This is happening all over. The whole of the Western world is getting hit by this right now. So US hiring hit its lowest rate since 2020. Trump actually fired I forget what her title was, but the head of US labor statistics, because she kept coming back and saying that no new jobs are being made and hiring's at its lowest. So got rid of her. We don't want to hear that news. 63% of US executives say AI will take over some entry-level jobs. That's quite a lot. That is the majority. Unemployment for 20 to 25-year-olds in AI-exposed jobs, employment is down 6% since late 2022. Lots of people are still saying, oh, this is a side effect of COVID, or this is a general softening, or it's the war, or whatever it is. There are many, many economic factors, absolutely. But increasingly, it's becoming clear that AI is one of these, and it's not going to go away. And then I have my direct experience. This is entirely anecdotal, but I have an audience of about 300,000 people. And so I get messages, I get DMs, I get comments, and I'm hearing from a lot of people that times are rough. If you are looking for a job right now, it's bad. If you're in a job right now, your company is probably bringing in artificial intelligence and you're feeling a little bit shaky. These are entirely valid feelings for you to be having right now. And the videos I put out on social media over the weekend, which went semi-viral, were basically saying, look, your company does not care about you. Your company will automate and replace you with artificial intelligence as soon as they can. Right now, the AI may not be good enough. In a couple of years' time, it will be. They're already training the AI on you. So we heard last week that Meta, they fired 10,000 staff members, and now they're recording everything that every other staff member does on screen. The reason they're doing that is because you can build an agentic workflow that basically replicates what people are doing on screen and replace them as well. So Meta are at the forefront. Whether or not that's going to pan out, we will find out. But this is coming for every company, every industry, every job. You need to be ready. And just because a company has looked after you for the last 10 years, just because they have paid your check, as soon as they find a way to replace you with a $100 a month bot, they will do so. The economics of it are too powerful for them not to do so. And if they do not, their company is going to be at risk and they will get ridden over by competitors. This is probably the most important thing here. So take a screenshot, take a photo of this. When I started with my very first business, I was living in China. I was depressed. I had lost all my money. So I had no money at all. And I read a book called The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss, which I'm sure a lot of you have read. Back then, you had two choices. You could work a 9 to 5, and you could get a steady, low-risk reward, but you also had limited downside. So the chance of you losing everything, losing your house, that was very low. And the option was to start a business, entrepreneurship, whatever you want to call it, where there was a potentially very large reward. You had uncapped earnings. You could make a lot more money, but the downside was also uncapped. You could lose everything, especially if you leveraged. If you borrow money, you could be in a lot of trouble. So in the old world, I'm talking, well, before AI, we had 9 to 5, which is a small capped limited reward and a small capped limited downside. And when I used to help people start businesses 10, 15 years ago, I would say to a lot of people, maybe starting a business is not for you because we are all wired differently. Some of us have more risk-averse brains. Some of us don't mind taking on that risk. And if that's the case, a 9 to 5 is perfectly fine. Yes, you won't be able to secure the big rewards. You won't be able to make 10 times more next year than you do this year because you're always going to be limited inside of a 9 to 5. But you also don't have this big risk of losing everything and potentially more in entrepreneurship. That was the old world. 3 years ago, that changed. Now what we have in the new world is the risk of a 9 to 5 has increased. You are now at risk. Your job, your company, your industry is now definitely at risk. You might not feel like it yet, but the sands are shifting under your feet. And if you don't realize this now, it's going to be problematic a couple of years from now. However, in a 9 to 5, you're still getting a small reward. You have still got capped upside. If anything, it has gone down because wages have stagnated, inflation has gone up. So what you're earning from a 9 to 5 is getting increasingly more difficult. It used to be in London that if you were making 100,000 a year, you were living good. Now 100,000 a year in London is like, you will still struggle. It's a relatively different level of struggle, but it's still a problem. So the small reward hasn't really changed in the last 20 years. Wages have stagnated, house prices have gone up, everything's gone up, but there's a bigger risk of staying in that 9 to 5 because AI may come along and absolutely drive a train through absolutely everything that you've built over the last 20, 30 years. What this means is now entrepreneurship is not looking as bad. Entrepreneurship still has the big reward. If you work hard and you get into the right niche and you manage to apply yourself and provide value to the market, you can make good money. It's not easy, it's not fast, but you can make money. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme thing. This is about building something that is valuable, supplying it to the market and doing well. And I'm not even talking about making 1 million. Very doable. 10 million, also doable. That is the kind of lifestyle-size business that most people can carve out for themselves. And it sounds like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money, but we're not talking about becoming the next Steve Jobs. We're not talking about billion-dollar companies. We're talking about carving out something for yourself and your family to live well for the next couple of decades. So the entrepreneurship risk has not gone away. That is still in place. There is still risk, but that risk is not that much larger or maybe even smaller than the risk of staying in the 9 to 5. It shifted. This dynamic has shifted and more people need to get moving into generating their own income. I will link this article in because it's fascinating. I mean, it's anecdotal, but what they're talking about is a lot of Gen Z, people who are now graduating from university. They've come out into the job market. Unemployment's about 20%. There are no jobs. They've applied for 100 jobs. They've applied for 200 jobs. They haven't got anything. They're applying to entry-level jobs that require 3 to 5 years of experience, like they are in a bad position. So what a lot of Gen Z are doing, starting up something themselves. They are moving towards entrepreneurship because then at least they can take responsibility. At least they can build something that they control and they own. Will it be successful? No, not necessarily. But when your alternative is a labor market which is broken and will spit you out at any opportunity because of artificial intelligence taking your job, entrepreneurship suddenly seems like not such a bad deal. So there are a couple of kind of anecdotal little stories in the article. I'll give it to you in full in the newsletter. We've got Ashley. She went to the University of Hawaii in 2024 and planned to find a job in marketing. Perfectly reasonable to expect that. Maybe for a tech company. She had a bachelor's degree in business administration and a student marketing job from Red Bull. So she had some experience. After months of applying, her only offer was to work in the power tools section at Home Depot. It was quite a shock, she told The Guardian. I searched for jobs every single day in that Home Depot bathroom. 2 Hours Generation is entering the workforce in a particularly unlucky moment. Hiring is slumped to the lowest since 2020. While workers of all age are feeling the pressure of an uncertain economy, it's Gen Z who is the most pessimistic about their job prospects. Entry-level jobs are the most vulnerable to impacts from AI. This is something I've talked about many times. AI is very good at that low level, entry level kind of grunt work that you have to do when you first enter an organization. That's now being done by AI. So in law firms, for example, normally that would be things like discovery. You would spend years helping to do discovery work. That is documenting and collating and finding information amongst a large corpus of documents, of work. AI is very, very, very good at that, and it can do it in seconds rather than in weeks, and it can do a better job. So law firms increasingly are going to be moving in that direction. That kicks the bottom out of the labor market. It means that we don't need entry-level jobs when we can replace them with AI. Yes, that creates a later down the road problem of, oh, how are we going to progress people? How are they going to learn? That is something that people are pushing down, they're kicking that down the line. Most companies are thinking about the next quarter, they're thinking about the next year. They're not thinking 5 years from now. So yes, that's a very valid reason to be concerned. The second one is Suhit, who applied to Google 6 times, no interview, and pivoted into founding engineer roles using Claude Code. And then Celeste is further down, who's done really well. Let me find Celeste because her story is awesome. So Celeste Amadon, 22, turned down an investment banking internship at JP Morgan last summer to start a dating app company called Known. At first, her parents were not supportive. My mum called me like 3 different times to try and stage an intervention. When she raised over 9 million in venture capital last year, they came around. Good. Now she's CEO of her own company, one that uses AI to help singles meet. Now, again, you don't need to become a software startup. We're going to talk about what kind of businesses we can start. What we're talking about here is not venture capital related. It's not tech related. It is about carving out something for yourself that is not a job. And we're going to ignore the kind of stories that you see in Wired. We're not going to become the next Steve Jobs. We're just going to carve out something for ourselves, which allows us to pay ourselves an income. It allows us to save a bit of money and to weather out the storm that is coming. So I'm going to give you the article, the Guardian article in the newsletter. Make sure you go and read it because it's an interesting read of all these young people who, because they cannot get a 9-to-5 job, are deciding, okay, fine, I'm going to carve out my own thing. If you're already in a 9-to-5 job, you're probably feeling safer. Don't allow that to make you feel like you're always going to be safe. It's very, very tempting, but these guys are kind of lucky in a way because they haven't been able to find that safety, so they had to make their own. So I did a few videos on this last week saying you need to work out your own income. You need to take responsibility for it. You cannot rely on an employer to continue to pay you. That is not going to work moving forward. One of the most common objections was, well, not everyone wants to own a business. Not everyone is suited for entrepreneurship. Why does everything have to be a side hustle? Very valid. Increasingly, though, it's not about what you want. Sorry. It's about the realities of the situation. So no, you might not want to start a business, but if the alternative is losing your job or never being able to find a job for the next 5 years and being put onto benefits and having no control over your future, this is an alternative. At least this is something that you can act on. Will it work? No, not necessarily. Is it risky? Yeah, it's risky. Are you going to be a multimillionaire by the end of the year? No, very unlikely. But at least you are doing something. Because if you just sit and you wait and you hope, that's not going to be enough. What you need to be doing right now is if you have a 9-to-5 job, keep it, because they're going to become rarer. Keep your 9-to-5 job, but on the side, start to build something. But you're going to start to carve out something for yourself on the side. Something that might give you an extra $100 a month, maybe an extra $1,000, whatever it is. Once you make that first internet money, once you make that first dollar or pound selling to a stranger, whether it's a service, whether it's freelance, whether it's a product, whether it is education, whether it is something that you build with AI, it kind of changes how you think about money ping into you. Now, this is only $7, but the first time that happens to you and you make a Stripe payment and you make some money from a stranger is, oh, shit, okay, this is real. And I want to help people get to that as quickly as possible because it opens up your mind to what is possible. So 67% of Gen Z want multiple income streams. This is from the Guardian article. That's great. We all want multiple income streams, and it's a very good idea to have them because each individual income stream is becoming more at risk. However, you need to put in the work. You need to work on this. So a bunch of things you can do. You can freelance. which is doing whatever you do at work right now, but doing it for hire. So that is generally the simplest way to transition from a job, is you start to do some freelancing on the side. That might be consulting. Generally, you start with leveraging your existing skills as a freelancer. Just start to make a little bit of side money just to unlock psychologically that you can do this. And then you scale up, you automate, you work something out. Again, I have many guides on this, over 100 over on the website, aiwithkyle.com. This is probably the most comprehensive. It's an AI business course. This is free, no upsales or anything. This is just there for you, which is working out your niche, working out business ideas, learning how to build a minimum viability product, a proof of concept, getting it out to market, getting feedback on it, and then improving from there. And then what do we talk about? Marketing, setting up your sales infrastructure, how to bootstrap, so not raising money, but using the money that you make to scale. Example, talking about sales, because I know lots of people find sales icky. So I talk about selling without selling. So you're not a salesperson, but you are still able to make sales. That's all totally free on the website, aiwithkyle.com, to walk you through step by step by step. Because now we have AI, starting a business, getting something up and running is easier than it ever has been before. So I started my first online businesses maybe 20 years ago. And I had to make the website, make the product, do the customer service, code the checkout. So I had to learn a bit of PHP, HTML, JavaScript. AI can now help us with all of this stuff. It can help us with marketing plans. It can help us with distribution plans. It can help us with social media, content marketing, etc. It's like having a team of experts in your pocket that can just help you with that. Whereas previously, you had to either raise money to hire people, you had to find a co-founder who could cover the parts that you didn't know, or you had to learn all those skills yourself, years potentially. Now I can have an idea for a business, I can have an idea for a product and have the minimum version of it built that afternoon. That's really cool. That shifts the ground, and you want to be on the right side of that rather than the wrong side of that movement. So the next objection is, my job's actually quite creative. It has a lot of human judgment in it, or I kind of work in design and AI is not very good at that yet. So yes, there are jobs that AI is going to be less impactful on. That said, AI is going to impact every single job. Most of what we do is not this pure, beautiful act of creation. It's not these pure, beautiful acts of human empathy. Most of what we do is kind of drudge work. Yeah, sure. And maybe you're a fine artist. Maybe you're doing oil paintings every day. You're probably fine. Very few people are in that situation. So let's say illustrators, for example. There'll be some illustrators who are at the top of their game. They're doing, I don't know, book covers for Penguin or whatever, and they make a lot of money from doing their illustrations. Most illustrators are going to be on Upwork. They're going to be on Fiverr. They're going to be picking up gigs for a local coffee shop has an opening and they need a nicely illustrated poster, and they're going to pay you $300. Most of the work is at that kind of level. That's the stuff that's going to be wiped out, because for most people, they don't need acts of pure creation. They don't need art when they're purchasing your creativity. And this is not just for artists, not just for designers. It's for anyone who thinks that their job is special because it has judgment, it has taste, it has this certain je ne sais quoi of humanness. Most of the time, 70%, 80% of the time, that's not actually going to matter. So we tend to over-egg how special our jobs are, how special our role is, because we think that it's something that only we can do. AI has shown us again and again and again and again that it can do these things. So we keep moving the goalposts. Initially, we thought, well, AI will never be able to play chess. Chess is a uniquely human thing. And then obviously, in the early 90s, Deep Blue beat Kasparov. So we moved the goalpost and we said, oh, AI will never be able to play Go, because with chess, you can just brute force the calculations. With Go, though, Go has a almost infinite number of different combinations. It's more about intuition. It's a much more human process. And then, obviously, AlphaGo beat Lee Sedol a few years later. And then we could just keep moving the goalpost back. And so at the moment, we're saying, oh, well, AI will never create art because it has this certain essence, whatever it is that makes it truly human. Again and again and again, we've been wrong about this. And it hasn't stopped us from making this prognostication, but it is a very shaky foundation to base your future on this unique human creativity or this unique human judgment. In fact, human judgment can be very flawed very often. So I wouldn't be that surprised if we're seeing AI systems being used to augment and then replace judgment moving forward. Next objection is kind of a weird one, with people saying, well, just enter the trades. So become a plumber, become a carpenter, which I think there are their own problems with that. Mainly if everyone does that, then it's an oversupply of labor, and we're not necessarily going to have an increase in demand. So people who are going into trades, people who are setting up a homestead, looking after their own chickens, growing their own vegetables, etc., that is actually a form of ownership. That is exactly what I'm telling people they should be doing. So I'm mainly saying, hey, you should start a business. You should take control of your own income. Going into the trades is one way to do that. You can get paid very well. I am currently sitting in a building site. You can't see it on YouTube, but I'm surrounded by building materials because we have somebody who's just done the painting, who's basically setting up my new house. That kind of work is going to be safe. That's going to be safe until robotics catches up, but robotics is still multiple years away from that. It's not going to be as safe as people think because there'll be an oversupply of people moving into it to pay for renovations, to pay for bespoke furniture, carpentry, etc., etc. So it's not as safe as you think, but it is a path. And it's a path that is you taking ownership and saying, okay, I'm going to carve something out. Because most people in this space own their own business. They are contractors. A homestead is the same. If you are going to just retreat into the countryside, grow your own vegetables, raise livestock, etc. Again, that is you taking ownership of the situation. It's you taking responsibility and saying, I'm out. That at least is a conscious opt-out. That at least is you taking control of the situation rather than just waiting to see what happens. I think that's a wonderful idea. If you don't follow her, Liz, the developer, who's on TikTok and Instagram, she's just bought an RV and she's just going to travel around because she does not want to be in San Francisco over the next couple of years because it's going to get extremely messy. So she has the ability to just up sticks and leave with this new RV. I fully respect that. I think that's an awesome strategy. But just burying your head in the sand or saying, oh my God, it's all over, and being a doomer and not acting, that helps nobody. You need to do better. Agency always wins. So this is one of my favorite images, this on the right-hand side. I can't launch that business yet. I don't have the perfect setup. And then it's a photo of a guy who's selling shots out of his kind of front room. It's a bunch of shot glasses, a bottle of whatever it is, and it's €1.50. So you come along, pause your shot, €1.50. That's a business. Businesses can be very, very simple. As long as you're providing something that people want to buy and you can provide it at a cost that allows you to make a profit so you can do it sustainably, that's a business. It's creating something of value and supplying it to the market. We tend to overcomplicate these things. I've lived in Asia for years, so in China and in Vietnam. And in both countries, nearly everybody has a little side business. Again, we're not talking about they're not running startups, but they will be running like tutoring, or they will be selling stuff out of the front of the house, or they'll be connecting people in some kind of agency role and taking a cut. Like entrepreneurship, natural kind of low-level entrepreneurship in China is everybody's running some little hustle, which is really, really cool. Don't think that you need to overcomplicate this, that you need to build a $100 million business, that you need to raise venture capital money. Start super, super simple, and then build up your confidence in your own abilities and in your ability to generate your own income. Because a lot of us are not used to making our own money. We're used to turning up, sitting down at a computer, and then somebody gives us a check at the end of the month. We kind of need to reprogram our brain and make the connection between what we do. We need to strengthen that connection so we can understand that we can make money. So there's a whole bunch of ways to do it. So I've got a squeaky chair. Again, on aiwithkyle.com, if you go to the catalog here, this is free. I'm not selling anything here. There are maybe 100 plus different guides here on entrepreneurship, on building, on creating, on business ideas, etc., etc. Or if you want something a bit more structured, have a look at this business course. I also have something called the Freedom OS, which is paid, but it's only $7. Oh, this is not what it looks like. This is I have a slightly custom version, but this walks you through step by step, starting up your own business and working out what kind of business you should be starting in the age of artificial intelligence. Let me show you what it actually looks like. Okay, I have a custom version just for me, which you should ignore because I was having some fun with designing. But this shows you or talks to you about how the grounds are shifting. You need to get ready. The 9 to 5 is not safe. You need to work out what your new leverage is. You're going to use artificial intelligence to secure money, to make an income, rather than be subsumed by AI. So we're going to use AI positively rather than allow it to affect us negatively. We're going to learn what it is we need to know about AI without getting overwhelmed, because it's such a huge subject. There is so much that we could learn that a lot of people tend to just give up. So I walk you through how to focus on exactly what you need to know, making it a lot easier, building your foundations of artificial intelligence, so your skill base, learning how to stay up to date with artificial intelligence without worrying about every single model, every single kind of point release, but just enough for you to do what it is you need to do, which is create value. And then there's a quiz which will stream you into different types of businesses, followed by a custom plan. So it will basically interview you in depth as if you and I were sitting together and work out what you should be doing over the next 30 days. So that is paid, that's $7, but you can 100% start here with all of the free things. And if you come onto aiwithkyle.com/join a community, you'll be getting my daily newsletter for free. So that will be the live shows, like the one you're watching right now, chopped up, tidied up, made more consumable, plus the written notes of it, which come out every day, which have additional supplemental videos, guides, prompts, etc., etc. That is all available for free on aiwithkyle.com. Cool. Thank you so much for listening to me talk about how your job is not safe. I know it upsets an awful lot of people, but it's important. And I'd rather you get annoyed and pissed off with me and say, who's that stupid British guy, that plummy British guy telling me my job's not safe? But I'd rather you get angry with me right now if it triggers something in your mind that a week, a couple of months from now, you might be thinking, maybe he was talking a little bit of sense and maybe I need to be looking at what I can do about this. That is the optimum thing. We have to think about what we're doing. We're not just going to allow this to happen to us. We need to act. And for me, my recommendation is you start to generate your own income. You start your own business because, and again, this is super important, the risk reward of entrepreneurship is now a much better deal than the risk reward of the 9 to 5. 9 to 5 is no longer safe. It has an increased risk, but it still has a very limited reward, whereas entrepreneurship hasn't changed that much. Yes, it has a high risk, but it has a high reward. So I know what game I would rather play. If you want me to yell at you more about your 9 to 5 job, go and check out TikTok and Instagram, where a lot of people are getting quite annoyed with me. But again, I think it's better to get annoyed with me and do something about it than stick your head in the sand. So I'm going to continue to piss people off gently, politely. Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody, and I will see you